Alright guys, hello. We're actually going to get started now for reals this time, I promise. So just a quick introduction about, in case anyone doesn't know who I am. My name is RJ Gammon, and I'm from the Beta Xi chapter of the University of Florida, and I'm our TBS District Vice President of Special Projects. So obviously a lot of what I do is, organizing and handling projects and, trying to encourage and get people to participate in different programs, whether it's a district program or a national program, or even, like helping people with their own, like, chapter service projects as well. Also, that's why my presentation is called 99% inspiration, 1% perspiration. Now that I don't think about it, some of, like, motivating and encouraging and inspiring people is going to require some effort on your part. The perspiration is more so you don't have to sweat it out about, people not coming to things. Just raise your hand if you've ever had an issue with someone, with, like, people in your chapter participating in a service project, fellowship event, coming to chapter. Yeah, so, like, that's a really common issue that people have, like, across the board. So the goal of this presentation is to help you, get some tools to combat some of those issues. So just a brief overview of what this presentation is going to entail. A lot of it is going to be kind of like philosophy and more concept-based. It's because I truly believe that philosophy is kind of the core value of, like, everything we do. If you have a firmly, like, rooted set of ideals and beliefs, then everything else is going to fall into place. So, TBS has, like, the 5 and 8, KKSI has your creed, MOTS, AEA, all those sorts of things are influence, what we do and why we do it. And by starting with, with your philosophy, then everything else can grow from there. And as we move on, let's talk about, some applications of, like, and how to combat some of these issues and, common traps and solutions when it comes to motivating. Because, there's a lot of things that you might think, are effective or working, but they might not be working as well as you think they could be, and there will probably be a better way. But with this philosophy, a lot of it is going to be kind of positivity based, because I'm a positive person, and yes, that is a Legally Blonde, the musical reference. And for anyone who was wondering, but like, as cliche as the adage is, you really do catch more flies with honey than vinegar. So a lot of this presentation and philosophy is going to be positivity based. Lots of energy and action that is going to help inspire people to follow you and accomplish what you want to accomplish. Like any good presentation, you got to start with some definitions. So motivation comes from the word motive, which comes from the Latin root movere, which means to move. And similarly, inspiration, its root word is spur, which means to breathe. Think of, like, also perspiration is another word that shares that root. But inspiration, you're breathing in life to people. So that also brings me to this part. So I've given you some, like, basic definitions, but I want to hear from you guys. What are some words that you guys, like, associate with motivation or, like, inspiration? Like, raise your hand if you, like, just call out different words.
Passion.
So passion. Engagement. Really, no one else has any. Change. Aspire. Yeah, these are some good ones. Drive. That's a really good one. But anyone else?
Ambition.
Ooh, ambition. That's a really good one. Those are some really good words. Oh, I was missing one. Competition. I'm actually going to talk about that later in this presentation, so that's a good thing that you mentioned that. But, some other words I just have written down are, desire, drive, inclination, galvanize, spark, spur, propel. And the thing that you'll probably notice with, like, a lot of the words you guys have put out and, like, those words as well is they have a lot to do with action and energy. If you want to inspire people and you want to get people to do something, first of all, that's an action in and of itself. And, think of the law of conservation of energy. If you want action, you have to put in, or, like, you want energy, you're going to have to put in some energy as well. But this action and energy go hand in hand. So, I can be really active but have no energy. So I can walk up to someone and be like, come on, let's go, let's do the service project. But if, there's not, like, a lot of energy, I'm just kind of dragging people along. So I have that action, but, there's not any energy, and that's not going to inspire anyone. But I can also be, like, cheerleader mom, like, on the sidelines, like, yeah, go, you're doing great. But, like, if you're trying to do the service project all the way over there, and I'm just kind of chilling back, have a bunch of energy, but I'm not helping you out, then that's not going to really encourage anyone and as well. So you need that combination of action and energy. You need to really, inspire anyone and get them to participate. But but why even motivate? Like with any of this stuff, like why are we here? Does anyone have like any reasons for why we'd want to motivate people? Yes.
Well, the best way to get someone involved is like cite something that makes them want to do it themselves, because you like that old saying, "We go first to want to be."
Yeah, that's a really good one, and that's actually the third one. So the first thing when you want to motivate, is obviously you're probably going to want to accomplish something. And so as service organizations, we have tons of projects, that we want to accomplish. And obviously, like theoretically, I could paint a whole football field myself, or I could set up a rehearsal by myself. But one, that's not a good use of my time. And I'm sure that a lot of you guys, because you're here, you want to accomplish more than just kind of the bare minimum. And so you need to, inspire people and get other people to, will work with you so you can accomplish even greater things. This is actually Epsilon Xi. I just want to give them a shout out, because for TBS we have our service and music month, and one of the projects was a conduct us band, and they actually, because he got other people to participate and inspired other members of their chapter, they got a shout out from their like official university Twitter account, just for like what they were doing, and also they loved it so much that they did it again later on in the semester. Or because they had so much fun and people were so inspired and motivated to like continue in a project like this. And so, like I said, to continue is another really important aspect of why we want to motivate, because KKSI is about to celebrate its centennial, like 100 years, and that wouldn't be possible if people weren't motivated to continue, like on the traditions and like the service projects and everything that makes TBS and KKSI a tick. And also, I'm sure like not all of you like were just inspired immediately. Like you came to college and be like, I'm gonna do TBS or I'm gonna do KKSI. You might have had to been motivated, or like someone had to encourage you and like maybe even drag you to some recruitment events. So like it's gonna require some effort, but you really get a lot out of it. And now that you're here at stuff like District Leadership Conference, you want to motivate people because you care. So you've put in all this energy and you want to accomplish so much and you want to continue all these things, and so now you want to share it like with other people. One great quote is, "You pass this way only once, do it right." And I'm sure like none of you want to spend your time, just lounging around or like not accomplishing a lot. But by having like these tools for like motivation and encouraging other people, you can spread that passion, and you're just going to get even more out of these organizations than if you were just doing any other like regular service or another service organization. And but when it comes to motivating anyone, you got to have like some sort of plan or like guiding principles to start off. So these are TBS's purposes, and I'm also gonna, the next few slides are like a little specifically TBS, but KKSI has really similar purposes, and it's just like for the basic concept. So our purposes, they outline a lot of like what we do as an organization. So we promote, we honor, we develop, we encourage, we provide all of these things to the university bands. And so they're just kind of like a really good like surface level of what do we do as an organization. But we can go deeper than just that surface level of we do service. So then you have things like the mission statement and the vision statement, and which kind of go a little deeper, and they start to describe how we go about accomplishing what we want to accomplish. So mission statement is like, how do we provide service is to the bands. We're going to cultivate leadership. We're going to cultivate educational achievement, community development, all these sorts of things. And similarly, whereas the mission statement is kind of like focused in like a little more like present day, like in the moment, you have the vision statement, which is kind of outlines more like how are we going to grow and expand what we do as an organization for the future as well. Well, so we had our purposes that are what, we had our mission statement and like our vision statement, which kind of describes how. But I mean, there are some great lines, and I'm sure that like we quote these a lot too, but they're not like super inspiring. And like when you think about like what inspires me, like in TBS or KK Psi, you're probably not like the fourth purpose inspired me. Well, I take that back because I love the fourth purpose. Actually, meaningful and worthwhile old projects speaks to me. But I mean, like, you're not gonna have like on your Instagram aesthetic is gonna be, the purposes or the mission statement necessarily. But what is like gonna be your TBS aesthetic, your KK Psi aesthetic? It's things like the 5 and 8, or like the rituals and ceremonies, or I know KK Psi, you have your creed. So these are like the ideals that are probably more of the reason why we're in this organization. The 5 and 8, they promote friendship and respect among sorority members, and then the 5 qualities also are things that help you improve yourself like as a person. And so being part of like TBS or KK Psi, you're improving yourself beyond just being a regular Joe like in the band, because I can go anywhere and like join another service organization, but there's a reason that we picked TBS or KK Psi. Like I could go grab a can of spray paint right now and start lining the football field, but it's not the same as if I was in TBS or KK Psi. And it's because of like the 5 and 8 and like the rituals and ceremonies and the ideals that we espouse to our members that really get us going. And but you might be realizing that I've been throwing around like these words like what, how, why a lot, and that it actually kind of brings. Oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So as you can see, aesthetics, like these are the things that like you probably like use as mantras, or you write as little quotes that you hang up on your mirror or something. And, but you might be realizing that I've been throwing around these words around a lot, like why, how, what. But and so that kind of brings me into like a core part of this presentation. I actually got this idea is from a TED Talk called "How to Inspire Action in Other People" by Simon Sinek. I highly recommend you check it out. It's really good. But the core part of this presentation is this concept of the golden circle and inside out leadership and communication. So in this circle, you have kind of 3 different layers. So you have your what. Now, everyone knows what we do in these organizations. We do service and everything. So that's, like I said, those are like our purposes, very like surface layer stuff. It's kind of like bare bones, the basics. You can go a little deeper though. You can start talking about, how are you going to accomplish it? These are, maybe some of the logistics of how you also complete the what. Like do service points, take attendance, like different programs and projects you do specifically to promote these ideals and everything. But the what and the how are just kind of like surface level. They're not what inspires you. What does inspire you though is the question of why. And I don't mean why like of like why are you here as in we're here to serve the bands. I mean like why as in like why are you here? Why did you pick TBS or KK Psi? Why not some other service organization like I think one's like Alpha Phi Omega, where like I said, why not just go and grab a spray paint and start lining the fields yourself? Why TBS and KK Psi? And it's because of, like I said, these passion and like these ideals that they espouse. I'm sure is a big reason. Does anyone want to share like why TBS for them, or like why their chapter? Like, at the moment. Sorry. Does anyone want to describe like why did you choose TBS? Like why are you personally like in this organization?
Well, whenever I saw my chapter at KKSI helping the bands out, I was like, that feels like it has a deeper meaning than like what a lot of the other people are doing. Like, sure, you can help sometimes, like maybe picking tape up off the field, or encouraging someone in the classroom, where it felt like they had a deeper connection helping to people.
Yeah, so it's like you're going deeper than like service is great and everything, and that's a big reason like why I even joined these organizations. But there's more to it as well. Well, and the reason that why is so powerful is because people aren't convinced by facts. You can tell them like all of these words and everything, but they're not inspired by facts. Actually, they're inspired by feelings and emotion, and it's answering this question why is what it taps into. It's actually like kind of rooted in our biology. So you have the limbic system, which controls all of your decision making and aspects, like behavior, loyalty of your personality, but it has no capacity for language. So the thing that you use to, make decisions and create action can't describe what you're doing exactly. So if you've ever had people talk about leading with your heart or you get a gut feeling, and that's because your body literally doesn't know how to put into words these feelings, and that's what you want to tap into with this why, is get into that feeling, tap into that subconscious of things that maybe you can't describe fully in words. Martin Luther King had an "I have a dream" speech. He didn't have an "I have a plan" speech. So being able to inspire people with your ideas and everything, and answering that question why is what really is going to inspire and motivate people to follow you and accomplish all the things that you want to do. One of the best quotes from Simon Sinek's TED Talk is, "People don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it." And I think that goes into a lot of what I was talking about earlier. You can talk about all the things you do and everything in service, but people will get tired eventually of just doing service. If all they have to do is work, you have to go beyond that. You have to inspire that self-motivation in people to continue on and continue doing this work because they want to do it more than just oh, I have to. They should do it because they want to, and they have that feeling they can answer that question why themselves. But before you can inspire people to answer that question of why themselves, you have to be able to answer that question yourself. So first of all, you got to focus on why are you here? Why do you want to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish? In whatever position in your chapter, whatever you hope to accomplish this semester. First, focus on the why. And then once you have that why, then you can begin to expand on the how and what. But so then you can start, creating goals. So think of it as, creating your own mission statement or creating your own purposes. But I will caution you when you're creating these goals is, I know I talked about why being a lot more feelings, but people do need a direction and to an extent because you're trying to inspire action, and if you want to create something physical in the world, you do need to be able to describe that in some way. So when you're creating these goals, you need to be clear and specific because people might kind of understand and empathize with your feelings that you're promoting, but you need to kind of focus that direction and focus that energy into actually accomplishing something. Because I know the golden circle is, a big wide circle, but if you're leading from the inside out, you don't want to spread out in all directions. You want to, when you're starting from the inside and moving out, you want to have a straight line, a focused theme, very specifically why you are here and then how you're going to do it and what you're going to do, which kind of leads to the act and action. And I just think this quote right here is just another great example of that concept of inside out leadership. If so, a dream written down with a date becomes a goal. So you're starting with that dream, that why. And then a goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. So then that's how you're going to go about accomplishing what you want to do. And then a plan backed by action, what you're doing, makes your dreams come true. So that is such an important aspect, is, leading from the inside out. But so now that you've answered the question of, why are you here? You're going to want to inspire others and get other people to follow you as well. Well, so it goes into this concept of kind of early adopters, and there's also this other great TED Talk. It's really short one, it's 5 minutes, and it's just this guy analyzing a video one guy's dancing on the side of a hill at a music festival, and then as the video goes on, it turns into 2, 3, then it's a whole 20, 25 people have just started dancing randomly on the side of this hill. Well, and it just started with that one person. And that one person is you. So you're the person with the idea, the dream, the action that you want to create. But then, it's going to take some effort to get those first few people going. And so those are choice people, whether they're officers or just, people that are passionate about what you're doing and that agree with you. Ooh, and that can be honestly the hardest step, is getting and identifying those first few people that can join you, because once you have like a small group of people and you get that momentum going, then you create a snowball effect, and then it's much easier for more people to follow along with you as well. Well, and that all just ties into the concept of inspiring self-motivation, going back to you don't want to just like, kind of want to motivate yourself out of a job, of where you don't want to have to be continuously like getting on people's like, hey, let's go do this, let's go do this. People should want to be like, let's go do this because they want to do it themselves. And it all starts with just a few people. Well, once you've begun to inspire others, and you kind of like have this movement going and everything as well. But then you're probably going to run into some roadblocks. And so you got like a lot of common issues, stuff like low turnout. You might be doing all the work, people lack of energy, loss of direction. Go like, why are we doing this? Like, why am I here? You probably have heard that question asked a lot as well. That's like a serious thing is if people have lost their why. Yeah, so some solutions is being able to answer that question why again, and working with people to figure out like why are you here? Why are you doing the things you are doing? And some other solutions is communication. Every problem is also rooted in communication. Never forget that. Like I said, inspiring self-motivation, positivity. People respond much more to positivity than negativity. But so you're inspiring all these people and everything, but there are also some traps that you can fall into as well. So rewards are kind of like a double-edged sword. Once you're trying to use it to inspire and motivate people. So probably a lot of people utilize some sort of point system or like attendance sheet in their chapter. Like raise your hand if you do something like that. Yeah, so a point system is a really great tool. Well, and they are necessary to kind of just like as a check to ensure things done. But at the same time, they're not like necessarily an intrinsic motivation, because if people like are just trying to meet the point requirement, then they're just doing it because they have to, not because they want to. They're just focused on what they're doing. They're not focused on why they're doing it. When it comes to rewards, that's I think one of the biggest issues. And also sometimes it can just turn into like a negativity thing too, is you just focus on like people not accomplishing, and all these people haven't met the point requirement, but instead of focusing on the people that have met the point requirement as well. So when you are working with rewards, focus on rewards that focus on the progress. Meaningful rewards. Use like these rewards as like identifiers for like how far you've come and like where you still need to go. And make sure they're meaningful. It's not just like a give me your reward, because people put in effort, and make sure like the reward you're giving like is reflective of that effort. People feel like that their time is valued. And also like as long as it's like positive competition, that can be a really useful tool as well. And so just like some examples. For TBS, we have like our Focus on 5 challenge coins, and also stuff like like our like Stripes for Spike Pineapple for the district on how we're accomplishing Focus on 5. It feels good like when you see more of that pineapple filled up, and it's little stuff like that like encourages people, but it's not just like they're just working only to get that as well. But another really common issue is overload and overworking people. Sometimes it can just be like calendar overload, where you're scheduling way too many things at once, and people are just overwhelmed. And that can tie into a communication issue as well. If you're not talking with your chapter members and you're aware of like what's going on, then you're gonna seriously burn some people out. And especially if you're being ineffective or inefficient, or I think the biggest one that this should probably be at the top is unrealistic with your goals. Because I am a true believer in dreaming big, but you can dream big, but you need to have realistic goals to get you there as well. So you need to like know your audience is when it comes to stuff like that, and make sure you can like have realistic progress that people can see, because it actually one common thing that's also like like kind of tied down to our biology, is people respond much more positively when they feel as if they're being productive and they're being active, as opposed to sitting around and not accomplishing anything. Like you probably like even now, or like when you were a kid and you were just sitting around at home like during the summer, or like if you weren't at a summer camp and you just spent the whole summer sitting around, you were probably kind of fell into like a little kid depression. And it's because it boils down to biology, because you weren't being active and you weren't being challenged enough that you needed to be. Yeah, so making sure you know your audience and you're empowering others with this action will really help people. But also leading by example is another important one, because you need to be aware of how much you're asking of your brothers or sisters. And if you're working together with them and you're like, oh man, this is a lot, I can't handle this. If it's a lot for you, it is most definitely a lot for the rest of your chapter. And you won't experience that unless you're leading by example and you're getting in there, you're being active along with being positive and having that energy. And so this is just a diagram that's really important. You need to make sure you balance your members' abilities with challenging them. And so we talk a lot about burnout. If you're over challenging someone. But another really important one is bore out. You probably have a lot of really amazing, outstanding brothers and sisters that aren't being challenged enough. So feel free to empower them with projects and delegate to them, and they're going to be much more fulfilled as well. Oh, and it's just kind of getting into this sweet middle spot of flow that just means your chapter is running smoothly, because everyone is working at their level, and maybe you can challenge them just a little bit. You just don't want to over challenge them. Is the biggest thing, and overload them. So just if you're still having issues when it comes to any of the projects or anything you're doing, it might require some more serious reflection. Reflect on what you and your chapter has done and ask why. Because if you sit down and maybe it's a ritual or ceremony that your chapter does, or it's some project, and you think down, and really think, why are we doing this? And then you think about, okay, this is why we're doing it. The how and the what you're doing might not align with why you're trying to accomplish this, and that just means the meaning and whatever is getting completely lost, and that's going to require some significant questioning. And is it worth it? And is change necessary? And if those things don't line up, it's probably time for a change, because people aren't getting out of it, and that ties all back into people feel why are we doing this? As people are feeling dejected, and it's because they don't understand. And as well, and sometimes this change can be hard, but with the tools that I've talked about here, as well, it'll really help you kind of inspire and motivate. If you can at least start with those few choice people that agree with you, you can start to build a group and inspire that change throughout your chapter as well. So just because this is a quick summary, of this presentation, is answer the question why is, I think, the biggest takeaway. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And have that inside out leadership. If you know why you're doing something, then you can expand on the how and what, and inspire people to ask that question why amongst themselves as well. But once you have that why, make sure you're being organized and systematic with the what and the how you're accomplishing, so people aren't overloaded and people aren't feeling dejected or burned out or anything. Keep up the positivity and energy, because people will respond to it, and having that action will be positive. One other thing I just want to say about action as well. I know recently in our chapter we've had a lot more people being in 2 committees instead of 1, and it seems to be that the committees are more productive because more people are involved in the things that they want to be in. So a lot of times people are more capable of what you think of. So feel free to give them some more of that that challenge and power for when it comes to different projects, because more likely than not they'll surprise you and they might even inspire you. And so that just kind of brings me to the last part of this presentation. I know I'm kind of going over, so I'm not going to read you this, but this is a Dream Big poem, and it has a lot of really great quotes, and you'll see the last line is, "You pass this way only once, do it right." So I really recommend you that this presentation will be posted somewhere, or you check it out online. If you just type in Dream Big poem, you can find it. It's one of the first few links. I really encourage you to read it. It has bunch of great quotes I quoted on the daily. Ask anyone in my chapter, I do. Ooh, and then these are just other resources for like the TED Talks I referenced, and this one is a great video about positivity and like positivity through action. I know it says 7 ways to maximize misery, but it's a really great way, a great different way of thinking of like action and positivity as well. But that's all I've got for you guys. I don't know if anyone has any questions or anything, but I know there's probably other workshops as well. So I'll let you go. Feel free to talk to me after if you haven't.